Hi, my name is Larry Stigsell, and I'm the author of the book called Looking Through Our Eyes of Curiosity. I'm also the self publisher. This book is now available on Amazon. If you do a search for my book, you'd have to type in Looking Through Our Eyes of two separate words here, curiosity. Or the easiest way to do is search for the author's name. That's Larry, S is in Sam, Tig, S is in Sam, ELL, and it'll get you there.
Yeah, you really messed yourself up on that SEO with taking curiosity and making it two
Yeah,
separate
yeah.
words.
I can't even find it on the internet going that route.
Give it time.
But
You
but
do enough
but but
stuff like this, it'll all
actually,
pop out.
Curiosity is a fictional character, and his name is Curiosity. So, but he lives in a non-fictional world. So when you start reading this book, which is really cool, you're really looking through your eyes of curiosity. The cool part of it is there's like 70 some chapters in it, but you don't have to take them in order. You can go at any one point, and any one point in that book is very inspirational to people. And the whole purpose of the book is I'm trying to change people's lifestyles into a more positive outlook on life with all this negativity going on in the world, and promote like the love of family and everything too. So
Is there anything in particular that prompted you? Is there one event or one experience or some way your thinking has changed over the past year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years that led you to write this book now and think, I need to write this self help book?
yeah, because it's always been everything's could have been coulda, shoulda, woulda. Well, if I could have done this, I would have done this, but I shoulda, and it's like okay. And I've learned through time that if I don't take one step at a time to walk towards my destination, the rainbow's not going to come to me. I got to go to it. And only then can we find that pot of gold that we're looking for. There'll be stumbling along life's path, but we'll get there.
Why was the book on your journey? So I see what you're saying. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
hey, I figured there are these things I want to do.
Yeah.
I got to take small steps to make it happen. Why a book?
Well, the reason being is because I found this out for me too. But, as kids grow up and everything now too, you see a lot of things going on where people are negative and that. And I don't want to see that in families. I want to help start them out young. Mom or dad can, or even as adults, read this parts of the books. And if they're feeling negative or down, the whole insight of it is to give them a positive lifestyle to make them feel good about themselves. Because when it comes right down to it, we are the only ones that live in our bodies 24/7. And that's kind of what kicked me off into it because it's up to me to set my goals straight and everything too. So
Are there books that inspired you along the way that so you could have like we were talking before we started recording,
yeah,
we were talking about like, hey, on TikTok you can get on and promote stuff and everybody's on TikTok and there's a couple things you've monkeyed with. Hey, I got some
yeah,
video and audio and music, put it together on YouTube. You could have in any format. You could have taught classes. You could have decided I'm going to
you
sing
know,
songs to preschoolers. Why was it a book? You're like, that's the way I want to do
yeah,
it.
it's just like something I wanted to put in people's hands, and something that wouldn't outdate itself. But I just want to lift people's spirits and just say them that you are somebody. You are somebody. And the beautiful part of it is anyone that can read that book, which is extremely easy to read. I think it's like 280 some pages or whatever. Um, they can pass that forward to their families and such, and give them the inspiration and pass that light onto them. So as far as learning about this YouTube and TikTok stuff, I didn't learn about that until after I wrote this book and trying to figure out how can I get this book out to people so that they can see, and God help people in the most wonderful way that they ever could.
Why did you okay, and we started out talking about the title and like, oh, it's a good title, Looking Through Our Eyes of Curiosity, but then
Yeah,
obviously in the book you make curiosity, it's two words because it's like a first and a last name of a fictional character you're imagining.
yeah,
I wanted to ask first, why of all the values you could choose, so I mean you talked
yep,
about, I think you're talking about like being
yeah.
kind and compassion and Why curiosity? Why was that the one that really grabbed you and you
Well,
thought that's the major
yeah,
value?
because I'm looking at some. I would like to have some uh, fictional character that I could put in any walk of life. You know, as far as age style, he's a young kid, but just things going through his head. You know, like asking questions. Uh, Mommy, where do babies come from? Mommy, you know, and asking questions in life that you can do that through uh, fictional character and then write a book about it, and then they read this book and explain to them, you know. So the really positive thing about my book is I'm not saying anything negative about anybody. I'm totally promoting the whole book. Anybody from any walk of life who would read this, it's truly inspirational. You could be a, you know, multimillionaire, you could have a penny in your pocket, and it's going to help your lifestyle to promote it in business
Okay,
too.
that's a it sounds like you're saying, "Hey, anybody can read
Yeah,
this." And like I'll just throw back, "Hey, there's the old if something's built for
yeah,
everyone, it's built for no one."
yeah.
So I wanted to ask maybe if there's there any way in which you're like my ideal reader. When you were writing this, you thought, I imagine the person who's going to get the most out of this book is this kind of person, and they're going to read the book in this way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because you know, I do a lot of news watching on TV and everything, and you know, you see all these negativities and these red flags that are thrown up in life. You know, such and such happened over here today. Such and such happened here. It's like, gosh, I got to get this book. I got to write in it something that's going to get people and help them before they get to that stage, you know. And actually, in that event, it would be kind of life saving too, you know, because you want to promote a healthy lifestyle for each and everybody. And that's really my whole quest from this book is to get that to happen.
What are the core parts of the healthy lifestyle? And if you want to start with the unhealthy lifestyle, you could. I think you mentioned I
The
mean,
core
you
part,
mentioned the news, all the
oh, sure.
negativity. Yeah, what does the healthy lifestyle look
The
like?
healthy lifestyle is you as a reader, when you get done with this, you're going to feel so good about yourself and say, yeah, I am somebody, you know, I do have a voice. I am the master of my own destiny. And, you know, I can paint my own masterpiece. I don't need other people painting it. So, and, you know, it's just making you feel really good about yourself. You can take that step towards getting that healthy lifestyle you've always wanted. And, realistically, you should be able to attain it. Yeah.
Did you have experiences through your life where this negativity got to you? Are there particularly negative things that happened, or there was a negative mindset you had for a long time that you had to overcome? Or have you always just been like, I've always been positive and optimistic and like, always a great mindset?
Sometimes I think you have to experience the negativity to go positive because I worked at a job once and
Yeah.
it was like, oh, I worked at it 4 days because when I had there
Wait, not 4 days a week. You were there 4 days,
4 days,
and then
yeah.
I'm out.
And
Okay, this is a
I
bad four
learned from
days.
that experience because what had happened is it was a factory type job, but I had to stack lawnmower engine housings. I wore a size 12, but the only safety shoes I had were a size 10 and a half. So I had to wear those for 4 days, and I would keep track of everything that I did. Uh, the tracks of 15 that I sanded, the lawnmower
Yeah.
engine housings, by the metal dust on the wall. And I come home with grit in my neck. You can go. That experience is like, no, you are somebody, you know, and can be. And that's the same thing with anybody. What I'm trying to do is set everybody's uh, life track straight and let them say, everybody who reads this book, you are somebody, you know. And you know, this gets crazy, but I always tell them, you know, be sure to tell your family every night you love them because that's the true meaning of life and living, you know. And make that connection. And God, everybody's there to help you. And that's what I want to do is just create everything positive. And it's a great feeling when you can, you know. And that's why in
Oh,
the book too, I
yeah.
made it as simple as possible when you read through it. Through all the chapters. Yeah, I've got
They're very short
they are.
chapters. The
Yeah.
font is very
Yep,
readable.
very text, keeping it simple and everything, you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I wanted that a person could pick up a book and then just start anywhere in any of the chapters and get their inspiration for the day. And then thinking about it, because my wife says this too to me. She says, Larry, she says, you need to listen and not just talk, you know. And that was one of my problems, because when people would talk to me, I'm thinking about what I'm going to respond to them saying next without listening to them, So when a person can, and I'm still going to learn this, become a better listener, um, it makes your life a whole lot easier.
You okay? So there's a couple of things in there. You mentioned stories about interactions you had with your wife, and that was my out of the entire book. You mentioned it. That's my favorite one, where you talked about this thing where your wife just says you're not a very. She's basically just tells you, "Hey, you're not a very good listener," and you're like, "Whoa." And you like took it in. So my question is, so you took that in, you took that criticism in, and for whatever reason, that day, that night, you're like really got you thinking. How did you start to change that? What did that look like?
Well, actually, after she told me that, and I even gone to work a couple of times, and one of them said, "Did you hear what I said?" I said, "What? Did you hear what I said?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, what did I say?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh," And she was right. So I'm so blessed, because when I wrote this book, um, I was going through that with my wife, and you know what I said? I have to make a chapter on that in the book, and I did. It's so important to listening, So
So what do you do? It's one thing to say I need to be a better
yeah,
listener, but is there a way in which something you've done the next day or the next week or the next month you tried to do this and you noticed it helped you learn more, listen better?
yeah, not really. The job I've been at now, um, I, believe it or not, well, it's my brother-in-law who passed away, and my sister who opened the business. But actually, it's just communication skills with team members, and being positive. This is what will happen great in this book with coworkers, because it gives them a uh, employee attitude is sales latitude. So when you go out there and you're good with the coworkers, you pass that positivity on to them. So at my work now, I've been working there 50 years. No, I'm sorry, 40 years. And I worked just a little over 10,000 days.
Okay. Uh, okay, so thinking about the listening, you also have a few times in the book where you tell people, they have to be disciplined. And like you mentioned at the very top of this
Yeah.
conversation, you said everybody's got these dreams and these goals, and they have to take these small steps to get there. And then a few times in there, when you talk about this discipline to take the small steps to get there, you're kind of like, if you don't have the discipline, you got to get it. I'm wondering for people, if somebody reads that and they're like, if they say I'm not a disciplined person, or I don't have discipline, or I don't know what that looks like, is there any advice you give? I mean, how do you develop discipline if you don't
Well,
have
you,
it?
you realize that you have to take a daily step every way. You can't stop and end it there. Um, Realize the fact that upon life's path, you will fall down, but you have to get up again and start walking and everything. So, disciplining yourself in that respect. So, but it's just, all the positiveness in this book. It's to get you to going down the right path, and if you fall down, to let you know that your friends are there for you, So
Would you call yourself a disciplined person?
I would say so. Yeah, yeah. Not 100% though. I mean, I got my ups and downs, but I do realize the fact that if I want something, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow ain't gonna go to me. I got to go to it. So
Yeah. Are there particular people in your life where you think back and you're like, I know where I got this positivity from. I know where I got these lessons about you got to love yourself. I know where I got these lessons. You got to work hard for these goals day by day and small things, and they grow to something else. Are there like people in your life like these are the greats in my life who inspired me this way?
yeah, it's like I was fortunate enough with my brother-in-law and sister, because he used to own Chicago Cutlery, but he passed it on and then opened up his own business, and then married my sister, But I got the chance to fly to different buying shows down in Florida and such. and things like that. And yeah, that's where the discipline in yourself came in and everything. And public relations, boy, I have a book somewhere, and it's called this is the coolest thing. It's called "You Only Got 3 Seconds." And what it means is when somebody, I love dealing. Oh, this is great. I love dealing with uh, customers and everything too. So when they walk in the door, you got 3 seconds. Like, hey, how you doing? You guys up on vacation? Oh, that's cool. Where y'all from? You know, and then this is one fun thing that I like to do when people would walk out the door, because I work in a sports shop and everything. But in the wintertime, if I sell a pair of cross country skis before they go out the door, you just do happy, fun stuff. And they said, "Oh, one other thing." I'm behind the counter, and they say, "What's that?" And I look at them and I say, "Happy trails to you until we meet again."
And they dig it.
Oh yeah, this is, and the younger jet set, they look like he's kind of weird.
Have you, so having worked in sales for a number of
Uh-huh.
years, that pattern you're talking about where you go into a store, when I'm as a customer, as I go in, I'm going into a
Yeah.
store and the salesperson is asking questions and blah blah blah, I think of it as kind of a utilitarian, like, this person wants my money. When you personally are in these moments where your job is to sell, that's how you get the money for your house, that's how you get the
Yeah.
money for your
Yeah.
food. You have to
Yeah.
sell. In that moment, what is it hard not to fixate on? I got to get this person to sell I got to get
Yeah.
this person to buy these cross country skis. Or personality wise, you're like, I'm just talking to this
Yeah,
guy.
it's what it is it's not the product, it's the personality in you. Treat them like their family. That's the word I'm looking for. You got to treat customers like their family. And I don't expect anybody to buy first time around, but just to educate them, what's best for them and everything, and the rest just kind of flows naturally. So yeah, it's a good feeling.
Um, Curiosities in the book, disciplines in the book. Kind of, you have some things, especially near the end, where you're like, if I had a dream, you got to figure out what these dreams are, and then you got to make a plan to do it, and then you got to check in. One of the things you also had in there was it's dribbled throughout the entire book from start to finish is this kind of self love you're talking about, that you have to love
Oh gosh,
yourself.
yes.
For you in this book, why was self love such a powerful theme that just keeps coming up again and again?
Yeah, because you have to, if you don't love yourself, you have to um that's the only way you're going to be able to portray that onto other people and everything too, was when you have that, then you carry that forward to them. One of the neat things I say in the book that I say is, your eyes of curiosity that brought you to this book right now at this very moment. And then I tell them to go stand in front of a mirror and look and say, now you're looking through your eyes. How would you treat people the way you would want to be treated, looking through that mirror, and everything too. So it's really neat. It really is. So
Do you really? I'm always curious when authors recommend that kind of either mantras or positive statements or work in
yeah,
front of the mirror to look at yourself and say things or think
yeah,
about things. How often do you actually do
a lot.
this mirror
A
work?
lot. I'm not a lot,
Okay.
not a lot, but I mean, I do look at myself in the mirror sometimes and do that, but, um, it helps. You look at yourself, and it's one thing I had a big thing about was, um, when someone comes up to you, you don't tell them what to do. You say, can you do this for me? Have you got a minute and such, because then you're treating them like a human and not an object. So it's all about caring for people's emotions and everything, and making people feel like people. And like I said, the whole concept of the book too is to people can read this and then carry that on to their loved ones and families too, if they're going through hard times, or they just want to get on a positive lifestyle track and feeling really good and have some direction. That's kind of the roadmap to get you there. So it's yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Um, on page, to be ultra specific, on page 98, you kind of list out a bunch of faults. So we're thinking about problems. You lack discipline. You're beating up on yourself too much. You're not taking time to listen to what the people around you are
Yeah.
saying. You're not looking at these people as fully human and not really
Yep.
stopping and reflecting, hey, these people are special and I need to slow down and take, you got to get rid of all this stuff. But it's really, that work you're talking about is like the work of a lifetime. So it always sounds good when you read it in
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
inspiring
Yeah.
book. But then you wake up the next day
Well,
and your old habits, your bad habits they're just easier. So is there anything that's worked? You give a excellent advice in here about
yeah.
like, I noticed I was doing this, or I noticed that this helps, or I think this is great advice. But then what happens when you get up the next day and you want to do it and you don't?
Well, it's I heard that someone say people are not subject to change, but I find this thing with listening myself, and I still go through it. I still go through this where I don't really pay and take the time to listen. And by learning this, I said to my wife, please bear with me because I'm trying to learn how to do this. And by doing that, you slowly become a better person and everything too. And your lifestyle does change to more positiveness, and you get respected a lot more from the other person that you're listening to too. So yeah.
I'm into religion, and you mentioned religion a little
Yep.
bit, which it sounds like many
Yeah.
Americans, you had an experience with organized religion. It wasn't always pleasant. Either you got disappointed, or there were personal problems, psychological problems, failures of the people
Mhm.
who are in charge of the church, or the attitudes of the people who go to the church. And I'm wondering, normally, one of the things that religions pitch, at least from Judaism, Christianity, hey, we're all made in the image of God. We all have
Yes.
part of, in some way, God in
Yep.
us. And so that's their metaphor, like you're talking about, these eyes of curiosity. When you look at another human being and you're really trying to look into them, I think that's what these Christians and Jews are trying to do. They're saying, when you look at another human being, remember they, just like you, are made in the image of
Yep.
God. They are also great and
Yeah.
wonderful and special. Is your metaphor kind of like, oh, it's a spin on that, or do you feel like it's very
Yeah,
different?
because I've been to several churches, especially in the area where you go into the church, and you sense that the people going there are a little higher status quo, but I mean they're going in there and they're more concerned about how the way I look, in front of the other people. Oh, how you doing today? And then they go and it's like, I thought I told you to fold those clothes up when they get home. You know?
So they look real good at
Yeah,
church, and then they
yeah.
go back and they're real
So
snippy with the people in their life.
realizing the fact that church is a place to go to praise God and the Lord, but Christianity begins when you walk out the door, not in it. So that's like a 24/7 thing. My wife's relatives are really religious too, and one's like a Christian guitarist and everything too, doing pastor
Mhm.
work too. But yeah, it's yeah, that's kind of the way I feel on Christianity. Like if somebody was telling somebody who was a strong believer in religion, then they say like, okay, church isn't going today. So every one of you sit down in the living room. We're going to listen to this. You're going to listen to it. You're going to listen to it. It's forcing somebody into doing something when, like I said, Christianity begins when you walk out the door, not in it. When I go to work now, people look at the calendar. They said, you working by yourself today? I says, no, it's always me and the man upstairs. I have nothing to worry about. I got somebody with me every day.
So you, even if you don't, I think there's a lot of people who have the same
Yeah.
experience you have. Even if you don't go to church all the
Oh,
time, you feel like you carry whatever
oh,
that faith in the
oh God.
universe,
Yeah.
faith in God, faith in Christ, whatever it happens
Oh,
to be.
110%. Yeah, absolutely. I do. I
Do
think
you
I
meet?
think that's my strength.
Yeah.
It really is. That's my strength. Going through day to day, the love of family, and knowing that He's always there for me. And I feel like now with what I wrote in that book and stuff, I'm kind of spreading the word what He wants people to feel within themselves. So it's a good feeling. Holy mackerel!
Uh, so okay, so that's, I could feel that thread that like and I can hear it in the conversation with you today. uh the energy and passion you have about wanting people's lives to be better.
Yeah,
And there's a ton of these tiny little chapters, and I read it in a like a
yeah,
I gorged on it. I didn't read it. I like a day and a half. I'm like, hey, I got to pound through this thing because I got to be on this
Yeah.
podcast. And I did it weeks ago, so I kind of had it time to settle. That relentless, kind positivity comes through, and just the feeling that the person who wrote
Yes.
this book wants you to be
Yes.
happy, and you do present all this advice, and even if it's going to be hard for people to act on that advice over time because it's hard to learn to change your
Yeah.
ways.
Absolutely. And like I say, if the whole um if I with people reading this book, if I can get out of it that I've changed one person's life for the better, and they can pass that on to somebody else, as if somebody's going through problems or is in search for a better lifestyle or wants direction, letting them know that you can do this, you can do this, you just have to take that first step and lead in the direction of your goal. And boy, their attitude changes for the better and everything, and yeah, it's a good feeling.
Have you ever in your life encountered people, kids, teens, or adults, and that the kind of thing you're hoping from this book, that it inspires to people to lead a better life, to be happier, to love themselves more, to love other people
Mhm.
more, to communicate better? Have you ever seen that? Did this book come out of either attempts or successes you had with people who were unhappy, struggling, and you would give them advice and they do it or not do it, and that you felt a certain way about one way or the
Very
other
much
there?
so success and everything too. So, to
Okay.
give you an idea, I got a little grandson, and I think I put it in the book here too. Um, he was young at that time, like 5 years old, and we went up to on a train ride in Duluth. It was like a Polar Express, and we come back to his house, and it was that golden moment when it's just the two of us alone, and this is why I say the love of family is so important, because we
Yeah.
came back to the house. It was just that golden moment when us two were just in there alone. And he walks up to the table. He sees this nickel on the table, and I'm like, what the heck? So he gives it to me. He said, Granddad, yeah, I want you to have this nickel and let you know that whenever you look at it, I love you infinity and beyond. So now every night I call him up, I text message him, good night, love you infinity and beyond, and it's just so cool. But yeah, it's really cool. And then, you kind of pass that on to others like that. And it's just a great feeling. It really is.
Um, and I circled through all these tangents, and I do want to come back to the name of the book because I don't think we fully explained. When you talk about looking through the eyes or your eyes of curiosity,
Mhm.
what experience or what specifically are you telling people to do in that moment?
Looking through our eyes of curiosity,
Yeah.
I'm wanting to make them feel like in that moment that they are curiosity, the people reading the book. And now I want them to look through their eyes of curiosity, like the character does, but looking through their eyes of curiosity. That's why my son is a graphic designer, and that's why on the book he put that little figurine there of that man looking through the glasses. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's what it's all about. I actually um, when I was doing that, thinking of the Peanuts characters and things like that. So I thought, well, I'm going to get I went to the patent office and got the copyrights to Curiosity, because I thought I would like to make like a Curiosity family someday, and then just people when they go through life, questions that come up, make little books geared towards to help them out, and especially if it's for that different age limits too, so.
Oh, so this, you're also not imagining this is because I know a number of people who either write their memoir or write a book and they're like, no, it's one and done. I wrote this book and now I'm all done. I had this one book in me. I had this one thing to say and now I'm all done.
This is just the beginning.
Your mini publishing empire
Yeah,
for all
yeah, yeah,
ages.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Is it in your ideal world? Is writing? How did you enjoy the writing? What was it like?
It was nice because I start on Microsoft Word on my computer, and I'm just doing this, and they say, with writing, do anything that comes to your head and then just mark it down, and everything like that, and then start writing your words down, and then you put it into book format and everything. But it's very enjoyable. Yeah, and then if you can get writing communities that'll help you out, like Amazon KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. You get on there, and the community's wonderful group of people that'll help you out and everything. So yeah,
Okay, this book in this font in this size wound up being 254
yeah.
pages. How long did it take you to work on this book?
It went fast once I started writing. I'm going to say it probably took, gosh, maybe a couple of months.
And were you pulling from things little things you'd already written before? You're like, I'd never sat down ever and wrote for this long.
Yeah, just kind of things that came up in my mind that you may experience and everything too in the past. It's like, yeah, I'm going to put that in writing, as you live through life day by day, and everything too. So just putting it as, trying to find one thing where just your average normal person can pick up and apply to their own life, and say, hey, you are somebody, that's the big thing. You are somebody, and you can be whatever you want to, within reason,
Right.
yeah, I can never do gymnastics. Let's put that.
Okay, so gymnastics in this stage of your life, you're not going to be becoming a
No,
professional gymnast. Okay.
no, no, no,
Writing
no.
is much easier.
But this book authoring and publishing and things like that, when I feel like I'm doing it at a stage, not just telling the story, but I'm helping people out, with their lives, and that's a great feeling, it really is.
So, okay. So the last thing I want to do, not that, I mean, you're welcome to give a sales pitch, but I'm just curious. If somebody said you meet somebody and you say, oh, I just wrote a book, and they're like, oh, what's your book about? And you tell them what the
Yeah,
book's about. And then they're like, oh, should I read that? What would you tell
yeah.
somebody who should, who would you say to read it?
It's
Like you're in, oh, I know, you're in your store.
yeah.
This book is on the shelf. You didn't write it, but you know all about it. And so how do you inform somebody about whether it's going to be right for them?
Well, all I do tell them is son that I'm an author and I just self-publish my own book, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're kidding! What did you do? Can you send me the link in a text message?" I said, "Sure, I can do that." So it's very easy to do that, and I send them the link right to the page, and then I say, "Can you do me one more thing that would really help me out to get this on to other people?" I said, they say, "What's that?" I said, "Once you read the book, can you go to the website and at the end click on review and then leave a comment, because that'll help me promote." Amazon looks at that too,
Yeah.
and I just want that'll help me spread the word and everything. And this is the ideal time to do this, because God, it really is one of the best gifts a person could give somebody other than their own personal love, so
Okay, wait. So that's my question. This is the ideal gift. Why is this the ideal gift?
because it's life changing. It's life changing. It's making that person feel really good about themselves instead of a $200 sweater. I mean, it just makes them feel real good about themselves, and they can carry that feeling with themselves. What's nice about it, not only can they carry it, they can spread what they learn to others and help them with their life, so we don't get into any of this red flag life that people are living. It's like, eliminate that, so, but very, very, yeah, uplifting. So I'm excited. They just have to find the book on Amazon because it ain't easy to find.
Right. Okay. Looking through our eyes of Curi, capital Curi, next word, capital Osity. So just curiosity
Right.
broken up into two, capital C, capital O, by Larry. Is it Stigsell or
No,
Stigsell?
no. It's Larry Stigsell. S is in Sam, Tig, S is in Sam, ELL.
Okay.
And you type that in, the book pops right up.
Oh, there you go. The name comes right
and
up.
if they, and if they, end up getting it, it's now available in hardcover. It's available in softcover. It's all available now in Kindle.